Right then, it is Rajasthan who take on Mumbai in Super Saturday's second game, and it is going to be something that the Mumbai fans will be desperately waiting for. I'm talking about two precious points. We'll talk about that and much more in this match preview with me, Avanish Hegde, and of course, Dirk Nannes, who joins us soon. Speaking of soon, he's actually right here. Dirk Nannes, hello and welcome once again to our platforms. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Good to be with you.
Okay, likewise as ever. Now talk to me about Mumbai Indians because they're 0-8. It could be 0-9, which will be what? A record by itself or equalize the most defeats in a row, if you want to term it that way, was Pune Warriors India, if my memory serves me right. But let's hope from a Mumbai Indians perspective that's not the case. Let's start with Rajasthan Royals though, because they've been absolutely surprising everyone with great cricket. Is this the best RR ever in IPL history?
I think, as watchers, we have a real recency bias with when we're watching. We always think that what's in front of us at the moment is the best we've ever seen. I think you have to look back at IPL 1. They were 13-3 at the end of the season. They lost their first game. They lost the last game of the home and away. Sometimes you lose your first, and when you've qualified on top of on top of the table, it's pretty easy to lose your last one as well. So that team was extremely impressive. The challenge that I have with them at the moment is, yes, they're playing some wonderful cricket, but they've got a couple of out-and-out stars who are dominating the competition. Jos Buttler is playing in a different universe to everybody else, and Chahal's taking wickets for fun. What they don't have as a team is necessarily sharing it around. And sometimes when you're doing so well with a couple of guys at the top of the order scoring so many runs, other people don't get an opportunity necessarily. But you can't help but feel there's a few players who are having unbelievable seasons, and there's others who are sort of going along okay. But I don't think it's not like GT, who are having 10 players who are playing brilliantly well and they're sharing it around. I just feel still at the moment that RR, if a couple of players don't come off, then they're in some strife.
But it seems like match by match, game by game, they're kind of strengthening their whole team, right? You talk about youngsters like Kuldeep Sen coming and taking their chance. And then they've also signed some of the best players. If you look at what they did in the auction, you talk about Trent Bolt, Hetmeyer, Ashwin, Chahal. They've all got the bits and pieces going on, and now it's kind of flourishing all of them together. My question to you here is basically, what are RR doing right? Because at the end of the day, they did the job in the auction, but right now, even on the field, you can't argue against them.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think the bowling is working brilliantly. They're miserly. They've got bowlers who can play a lot of different roles. Ashwin is being extremely economical, although he's not taking a bundle of wickets, but he's being very economical. You mentioned there Trent Bolt, I think he's been a superstar in IPL. I love what he brings with the new ball. He's a real challenge. And then you bring those new one in. Kuldeep Sen, who's just come in, who's playing brilliantly well and taking wickets and he's bowling some unusual overs, bowling in the 7th and bowling in the 9th and then the 15th. I think he bowled the 20th the other day. They're unusual overs for a fast bowler to come in and have to try and bowl. So everyone's kind of chipping in with a role. It's still that my feeling is that they lose a couple of wickets. There's a lot of pressure on Hetmeyer. And I don't think we necessarily at the start of the season could have expected Hetmeyer to play as well as he's played. He's been exceptional.
Yeah, he has been exceptional. Now, one more from the RR before we talk about Mumbai Indians then. And I want to talk about Sanju Samson, right? Because at the end of the day, he's been a brilliant leader so far. And it makes you think about how he's calm under pressure, always smiling, supporting his bowlers. Where do you rate him as a captain amongst the others in IPL 2022?
Captaincy is a really hard thing, I think, as outsiders, as media people, to to really rate unless you're in the team environment and working out how he handles the personalities in his team. And knowing a few of those players in that team, they're quite humble people in the Rajasthan side. You don't necessarily have these massive egos. So it's actually quite easy to be a captain in that sort of environment. So it's probably as easy an environment as you can have to be a captain. I think he's been exceptional in the way he's led. I think it always helps when you've got someone who's been a wicketkeeper for so long to be able to read the game as he does. And I think he's got a pretty good grasp on that. And I think he's got a good camaraderie with his players. So yeah, it's hard to compare though. You can look from the outside and say he's doing a good job, but I think it's quite hard to compare him to say a Pandya, to Rohit Sharma, to the teams are so different. Like, there's a lot of egos to fit in that Mumbai dressing room, as an example. So the role of the captain is slightly different. So I'll just keep it in-house in Rajasthan. Say yes, he's doing a great job, I think.
Okay, let's talk about Mumbai Indians then, because look, it's a no-brainer that they need results, but can they do that with some chopping and changing? Devol Brevis has impressed one and all, but many people think that Tim David could come back into the team. Do you see it that way? If not, who the other changes will they make for this particular game?
Well, I think Brevis has got a lot of upside. I think we've seen sparks of brilliance from him and sparks of what he can be. With youth, you get a lot of inconsistency. So you're going to get the brilliance, and then you're going to get the flats as well while he learns his game and learns his craft. Thing is, IPL is not a development program for international players. You should be the finished product as an international player when you come to the IPL. Is Tim David necessarily that finished product who can come in and play? Well, certainly his price tag suggests so. Maybe he comes in. You know what? Let's throw a cat amongst it. And has Pollard done enough to continue with his place? He's not averaging a whole lot. He's coming in. He's making sort of 14 off 10 balls. That's striking at 140 in the death overs. You should be striking better than that. Maybe Tim David can do that job. Pollard rather is bowling one over a game. He's not really giving you a whole lot with the ball. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. There's a lot of things to think about, and I don't think it's necessarily as binary as necessarily a Brevis or David. I think you can sort of, at 9 and 8, change things up. I think it's time.
Okay, let's see what changes they make in due course of time. But it comes down to one person against this particular Mumbai team, and that is Jos Buttler, because every time Buttler steps onto the field when Mumbai are the opposition, he absolutely relishes the challenge. So how will Rohit Sharma and company plan to get the universe Jos out? And if you were leading MI, what would you tell your bowlers against Buttler?
I think in the first over, you have to hit the top of the off stump. He is human, and people go through form slumps. People nick good balls. You have to bowl the absolute best ball that you can bowl to him early on in his innings. And then if he does get set, let's imagine he's been in for 3 overs and starts whacking them everywhere. Then I think what he's done so well in this tournament is he's been one step ahead of the opposition, almost like when A.B. de Villiers was in his prime, where he knew what the bowler was going to bowl to him and just moved to where he knew the ball was going to go and play it. Buttler's in that kind of form, and so I think with those sorts of people, you need to bowl the ball that they don't expect, and that's really hard to do. Sometimes that takes having a really good batsman standing next to you at mid-off and handing you the ball and saying, "This is what he's going to do. This, bowl not that ball." I guess. So yeah, at the start, you just have to bowl good balls to him, because he's going to nick one in one of these games coming up, and then be unpredictable in what you do. Don't deliver exactly what Jos Buttler thinks you're going to deliver, because he's going to smoke you everywhere.
Yeah, just ask Josh Hazlewood, who of course kept him quiet and got him out for 9 the other day when RCB played. So, I mean, RCB have a thing a knack of doing these things. But look, enough of that. Let's get the predictions then in this one. Pink or blue as it is. Do you think Rajasthan Royals could take another 2 points and run away with it and potentially qualify for the playoffs?
Is there anyone who thinks Mumbai is going to win?
I mean, there are a couple of soothsayers out there you would actually bet you.
Well, look, put it this way. I think I'd rather be in the Rajasthan camp coming into this game.
Yeah, fair calls from Dirk Nannes, but sometimes he's got his predictions wrong. So all the MI fans out there watching this, don't be disheartened because anything could happen. Hopefully it's not 9-0, but you never know. We've seen stranger things before in the IPL. That's all we have in this match preview, of course, with Dirk Nannes. Catch him post-match where you guys can bug him with all your questions about the game. Until that time, we'll see you soon.